Hello, fabulous people. This is the Together podcast, and this is the place where Cherise and I come together to help you get it together for your everyday business life. So we hope you enjoy. So good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Natalie?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling good. I hired a marketing company yesterday.
Wow.
So we can step up our marketing game. And I had to laugh at myself because I just felt like, oh my God, I'm letting my child go spend the night at somebody else's house for the first time. Like I just was like, so I was like, God dog it. This whole like need to control, and that, it was just very interesting that after I did that, I was like, okay, let me go lay down somewhere. Like it just felt really, I don't know, just stressful for a second. So, but I've really vetted the company, so I'm really excited to see. And I think I'm just excited, but I just had to laugh at myself because it was like really stressful. Like, okay, I'm gonna spend this money. I'm gonna let you guys like be in control. And so like I know to listen to experts. But sometimes letting go your business to another expert, it's just like,
it's scary. And those are the parts of entrepreneurship that people don't really think about or understand until they experience it. Like you said, it's your baby. And I am letting you go spend the night at someone's house for the first time. This is crazy. You're not old enough to have a phone yet.
Right.
Like
that kind of anxiety. Right. Yeah. So aside from that, I'm good, and I'm really feeling good because I'm getting the things done that I wanted to get done first quarter. So even though I did it with anxiety, it's still done. Now I can focus on the next piece and the next piece and the next piece. So that part feels really, really good. So
I feel good about first quarter too. Organization for me, like I've been working through wanting things immediate. That's been all my life, and expecting things and seeing things immediate, that instant gratification. And then now my mentor is like, you're finally building a real true infrastructure, and you are building a foundation that's going to be lasting, because you are a real CEO of a business now, and you are calling shots, and you are doing the right work and not being the one woman show anymore. I'm like, oh, wow. When you speak into existence, sometimes you think you're doing something cute, Natalie, and you are really creating a thing, a real serious thing that's going to change your life. Right.
So I'm so excited.
Amazing. It's good. Yeah, I'm super excited.
All right. So what's our, go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm excited for everyone. We're growing up.
We're growing up.
We're really growing up.
Yeah. All right. So what's our topic for today?
So today we're going to talk about communication and some keys in communication with personal and business life. And there are a few, like 4 keys that I really want to touch on this morning that I think will, if people take them into consideration intentionally, I think it could change your life.
Yeah.
So let me say this. I've been having, this is a little personal, but I've been having this breakout, right? Like allergic breakout. I don't know if I mentioned it to you before, but like just like mosquito bites or something, itchy. So then I think one was on the side of my face. So I was scratching. Girl, I looked at my eye and I had that, that red blood mark in your eye. Girl, I had never seen that happen to me.
Oh,
I was about to go to the hospital. As much as I don't like the hospital, I was about to go. So I'm super excited to see that it is lightening up so much. So throughout the day, I was using Visine and this other light Visine stuff in my eye, and it's going away. I'm so thankful, because I did not want to get on here with it on or be out yesterday, and I was out shopping for a client all day yesterday, and I just felt away like, oh my gosh, should have had on sunglasses, but I didn't want to even put on sunglasses. I was like, let this thing breathe, let it do need to do or whatever. So I'm thankful that it is clearing up so much. Yay! Okay. Communication today. So there are some keys in communication that I feel like a lot of people look over. And one of the top keys is, Natalie, and I think you are this. I think you're really great at this. Being a good listener.
Okay.
I think this is your job. Like a gift that God gave you.
Right.
Being a good listener.
I'm gonna say it's a skill I had to learn. So I learned it professionally first. And then I had to learn personally, because I'll never forget, I was dating this guy and he was like, you don't listen to me. And I was like, yes, I do. I listen to people for a living. And then we just kind of both laughed together, like, okay.
Yeah.
Because I do. Like, if somebody's saying you're not listening to me, then maybe you're not listening to them, or they're not feeling heard. Like, just take a deep breath. And so I think I learned professionally, then I had to learn how to do it personally. Yeah. And so it is a learned skill, because we want, but let me just tell you, like, we so want to jump in. And so there's this acronym that we use in therapy. It's the WAIT acronym. Why am I talking? Like, this is,
that's good.
Like, why am I like, let me listen. And it's so important as a coach for you to listen, because your clients need to feel heard.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially, because there's some coaches that do a really cookie cutter model that does work for some, but for others, they really need somebody to hear the idiosyncrasies of their business.
Okay.
And how to work with it. So so you can learn the skill, but you got to practice. Like, you've got to willingly say, all kind of little things, like, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut during this whole meeting, or I'm only gonna take notes, or or I'm gonna ask this person, what do they need from me, so that they feel heard, because I thought I was hearing you.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me say one more thing too, Natalie. When we jump off of the podcast, can I get like 2 minutes of your time after we jump off? I
got a 10 o'clock, so we need to jump off early.
Okay, I need to remind you of something. Okay. So that active listening and that urge to want to jump in and interrupt, even as far as making a gesture, making a noise, and people say, what? What? You don't even want to do that. Let them talk. Let them get it out and strategically listen to what they have to say. I've had to get to the point where even in personal conversations, I have to kind of jot it down, what I hear, because, you'll forget important parts and points of a conversation. And and maybe not in your face, but if I have to, I will in your face, like, wait, hold on. Because it's important, and I want you to understand how important it is that I hear you, so that we can address it together. So just talk and don't pay me no mind. I am listening to you and hearing you. Okay. So another space is being assertive and confident when expressing your thoughts.
Say that all day long.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because the reason why people aren't confident, they can't be assertive because they're not confident. But the reason why they're not confident when they're expressing their thoughts is because it's too much going on in your head at one time. And what you have to do, or something that I would say will be a good tip, is to think about the most important thing. What's the top priority that I want to communicate to this person in this moment? Of course, there are a million things that you want to communicate, but what is priority right now? And there's a book called The Queen's Code. You know about that?
Yes.
Where I learned in marriage about men have waffle brains, women have spaghetti brain, which means most men do they're
Compartmentalized.
compartmentalized. They do one thing at a time. Okay. They don't multitask like we do. They can't.
Right.
And when I started watching and studying, I was like, whoa, this is deep. So ladies, listen, if you are on this broadcast, I need you to hear me. Please do understand that when you are blah, 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 to a man, it's one thing that he heard in that entire rant. Probably the most negative thing that you could have said in the rant. So what I did was I figured out the point I wanted to make, and I said it in one sentence, and I let it go. And it really helped. It really worked instead of all that fussy. And I'm not a fussy type person anyway. I don't argue back and forth and, all that. So it helps so much. And I realized even in business, if you're a good listener, and then you let the thoughts process of what you want to say back to them, because remember, most importantly, you want to say back to them, repeat back to them what they said to you with the solution.
Oh, yes. Say that.
So I don't want to go back and forth with you. Oh, I know we're on the same level. Yes, I understand. I've been there, done that. That's not what people want to hear. People want solutions or either just want to be heard. Sometimes they don't even want or need the solution at the moment, because sometimes if they just hear themselves, they will get their own answers. So that's also the benefit of being a really great listener. And that is how you can also become a, great communicator of, your thoughts, and expressing yourself.
That's really good. That's really good.
Yeah. So I always crack up because I tell my people, I was like, my friends are psychologists and therapists, and so am I. They said that I am too.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
I say that with authority. Because I'm like, I know that was a gift, like just being a good listener and expressing my thoughts confidently is a gift. And I know that even when I was learning the psychology of style, I was like, oh, this is just the psychology of people and the way that they do things. They do things their own unique
way,
authentic way. That's what the psychology of style is. So I have fun with that conversation. I really do. Okay, so remembering to be. Now this is good, Natalie. This one is good.
I'm with you. I'm listening.
Remembering to be mindful of your body language.
Yes.
That body language, baby, you have no idea what you're telling with the body language.
Especially in the wintertime when you have your arms crossed because you're cold, making sure you articulate in that in some type of way, or just maybe not do that. Really, paying attention to that.
I have to do that a lot in the wintertime or any time period, because I don't like waves of cold coming over me. So I get cold really quick. So I have to be really careful to not, brace up and, do all that. But it's really important because your face tells everything. Very hard to control your facial expressions. It's very hard to control your mouth, your eyes. It's just hard. But you have to be mindful about it when you are listening to people, because your judgment comes out.
And I think the opposite side of this, and this may be one of your points, is also paying attention to their body language. So if they're talking to you nice and open and arm movements, okay, they're feeling free around me. But if they're talking to you and somehow they keep putting stuff in front of themselves and, just kind of almost a guard against you, you got to pay attention to that. Like, wait a minute, why are they feeling like they need to put a barrier between me and them?
That's good.
And so it might be, who knows, but you have to pay attention to it. You have to pay attention to it, especially if you're doing some type of sales or enrollment conversation. You got to look at their body language as you listen to see. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. I love that.
Was that one of your points? Did I take one of your points away?
No, that is a point. That's what we're here for. Like that wasn't a point. I was on, mindful of your body language, but of their body language as well. I was not, that wasn't under my points. But I think that's important because how you even respond to their body language, like that's why emotional control, emotional intelligence is so important in business, because you can't let others. And I'll give you an example. This morning I had a big photo shoot today, and it was canceled this morning by, a CEO, and put a lot of work into it.
Yeah.
A lot of work and time. Thank God my contract, state that it's non-refundable. Thank God for that. But it was a lot of work. So when the PR person called me and gave me the news, she was in good energy, but she wasn't happy. But I had to meet her in the right space so that she could keep her energy, leveled out and not go, off in a negative space. I'm like, okay, all right. And then of course she wanted my opinion on, how to move forward. And, we talked about it, put good energy over it. And, we're figuring out how to move forward. Can we get a reschedule? How soon? Because I've made purchases and, I have to make returns if we're not doing it soon enough. And, it's just a lot that goes with it.
Yeah.
But the energy, although we weren't in person, my tone, my expression, just keeping it professional, and keeping it good energy, high energy, so that you can support the person who is dealing with it up front. So it's so much that goes with it. So that body language, that's really, really good. I love it.
And if I could piggyback on that, because one time early on, I did a session with the new client on a Saturday evening, like 5 or 6. And I can't remember why I needed to schedule them then or what was going on then. But I remember I did not give them my best because I was pissed that I was working there late on a Saturday or something. Like I just wasn't happy. And so by the end, she was just like, she said some words and I was like, I don't know. I don't even know why I did it. It must have been at the beginning where I felt forced to do things on people's time. But that just reminds me of sometimes it's not the best time for you to have the conversation.
Yes.
So if you were really in your feelings, or you're really emotional, or you're really disappointed, or you're really even sometimes too excited, then let me reschedule this. And that's a session I should have rescheduled because I lost that client after that first day. Yeah. And it was terrible. And I was happy to look. I was happy. I just wasn't happy with it. And so thank God I'm not that therapist anymore, that I've grown and changed. But just being cognizant of the best time to have conversations with people.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, using that discernment of when and what conversation to have, because I think sometimes emotionally we're so anxious to get our point across and so anxious to be right.
Yeah.
We have to be right in so many ways. Like, I shouldn't be here. I don't deserve to be here. So I'm not giving you my best. You don't get my best because, I shouldn't even be here.
Right.
So not fair, because at the end of the day, why are they there? Number one. Number two, why did they choose you? They could have chosen anybody else. Anyone else. But, when our emotional intelligence isn't, quite there, or, we're just, you let the ego take over. That's what happens. But those are learning lessons.
Definitely was a learning lesson.
Different therapist and a different woman today, period. Because of that experience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was so long ago. I can't even remember, but I remember.
I have situations. I'll tell you, like, a lot of the situations that I've had under distress, it's things that people don't typically bring up. I don't hear a lot of, but every now and then someone will bring up something that will trigger a memory.
Yeah.
That I had no clue of, but it'll trigger a memory. And I'm like, oh my God, I had no idea I did that. I was in distress.
Yeah.
I didn't even know who I was. I didn't know if I was coming or going.
It'd be like that sometimes.
I don't know what I said.
Right.
I don't know how I looked at you, how I responded, you know, because I was in distress. And that for me, I do remember one particular situation. Someone sent me a picture of something. I was like, oh, I didn't do that. No way I did that. I don't know who did that.
That's funny.
And, you know, it triggered what I was going through at that time. I was humiliated when I realized that that's what I did under that type of distress. You know what I mean? So, and this is why I'm such an advocate of women, you know, emotionally understanding themselves and learning how to communicate what you have going on straightforward. You know, and that's my next, be specific about your message and straightforward when you're describing what you mean and what you want. I had to, of course, grow into that. I'm sure so many of us have, because you can come across so crazy and so unstable when you are in distress about what you want and what you mean.
Right.
Because what your heart has to say, it could be very unsettling for others.
Yeah.
The way that you present it.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why it's everything. That's why I'm all about the woo-saw. I'm all about the, you know, taking the time, to think first. You know, take the time to create the thoughts. Take the time to consider what you're thinking and feeling.
Yes.
Because the universe responds to what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And that's what people mistake.
Yes.
You know, you can say so many things. You can say all the things you want, but the universe is truly responding to what you feel.
Yeah.
And if you feel bad about yourself, if you feel insecure, you know, if you feel unstable, that's the response you're going to get. So it's everything for us to just sit, meditate, think, breathe, you know, get that mess out on your own. So when you present to someone else, you can present how it should be presented instead of misrepresenting yourself.
Yeah, that's good. That's really, really good.
Yeah, it is. And that's why I was like, we got to hit some communication because, you know, we're all growing, we're all learning. You know, I have some communication that I have to pull together with family, and make sure that we are doing what we are supposed to do as a family. And there's some hard conversations that have to be had that I've been concerned about. I've been a little emotional about, but as the leader, as the one in the forefront, the trailblazer, I have to have these conversations. Hey, we got to get the business in order.
Yeah.
You know, and we have to make sure that everything is aligned and in place in case anything happens to anybody over here. And especially for my family, because my mother transitioned at 50 years old, right? So I am in a space where I'm facing that more than ever, because that's not something we just really truly expected. You know, I think we were probably in denial of some things, not communicating. And then when it happened, you know, here we are. And then now I'm 51 and I'm looking back like, wow, she was no longer here. Her 50th birthday came, and then February, she was not here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to, as a family, we have to address that. You know, if one of us leave here, we need to be as prepared as we possibly can as a family, as a unit.
Mm-hmm.
That's communication.
Yeah.
That's straightforward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Certain communication,
No, that's an excellent point. I was just in a financial class and they were saying, get your wheel together and make sure people know. Nobody should be surprised when they start reading the will. It should be a will for somebody to read and to know what your final thoughts were.
Yeah.
But nobody should be surprised, at anything. It should be, she told us that. Yeah, he told us that. Yeah. And so getting that together. So that's my summertime plan.
Yes, I have some comments over on Facebook. The ladies are saying good morning. Good morning, all. And Melanie said, my facial expressions need work. I have heard too many times of how I don't hold back. that may have been okay when I was a child, but as an adult, it's inexcusable. I'm now very mindful of listening and not giving my facial response. I know it's hard, but that's maturity, Melanie. Mm-hmm. Like it's maturity, and that's just where we are. We have to be mature.
Yeah.
And discerning.
Right. Definitely.
And that goes back to being a good listener. Like if you are listening, really presently in the present listening. Mm-hmm. You won't give off the expressions. I think you will think through what they're saying and really, have empathy.
Yeah. And I think like one of the things that I've had to do as a therapist, and this is definitely good for coaches as well, to when you notice you don't have a spirit of education or compassion with whoever you're dealing with, take a step back and get to that place of compassion. Because I think we all have done some crazy things.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when somebody is sitting in front of you saying something crazy that they did, you want to be like, you did what? Yeah. And so taking a step back to say, okay, let me find the compassion for this person. Yeah. Let me see if I need to educate them and help them along. Like that, what we talked about the other week. How can I call them in, not call them out? Yeah. Like I want to help them. And if we can get to that place, our facial expressions will be better. Yeah. Because we're not like, you what? Like, it'll just be better. And I know as a therapist, it's been a couple of times, like it's taken me a week or so to get to a place of compassion with somebody. Like I've had to call another professional. Okay, help me find the compassion for this person because the story they told just sounds crazy and I don't want to help them. Is that crazy? And I don't want to help them. And so they'll work with me until we figure out, because all adults have a little boy and a little girl inside of them that got hurt some kind of way. Yes. And the way they're handling life is usually their solution to the problem or just their craziness and reaction to the problem. Yeah. So helping them figure that out is a wonderful honor that I have. But sometimes if I'm not feeling the person, I'm like, that's crazy. I can't believe that. And it just takes a minute to get to the compassion. So that's hopefully that can be helpful for some of you guys. Just take that step back, ask somebody to help you. Help me see the little boy. Help me see the little girl. Help me see why they're doing what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. And I have a tip to go with that. So that's so important. Like have the compassion, compassion, and remember that we all are little boys and little girls, hurt little boys and little girls that are finding our way. And one thing I think they can help others to tap into that compassion is look people in their eye.
Yeah.
When they are talking to you, look them in their eye and be okay with that. And I know it may be emotional for you. It may trigger things for you as well. But if they have chosen you and you have chosen each other for that moment, go ahead and be present and tap all the way in, and help them understand each other, themselves and you, and y'all understand each other, because they probably are there because they trust you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you don't want to be one more distrusting situation, that they've encountered.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Even if you just listen, because, I'm not one for empty words. There's been quite a bit of transitioning, parents transitioning, family transitioning.
Yeah, it has
now,
my side too.
I know. And I am more so, I may have words based off the situation. I may not. But I'm not going to give you empty words. There are certain things I'm not saying. I can't say sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
I can't say that. And I hate it that people are still continuing to say these, redundant, cliche words to people.
Like,
Stop saying that.
Sorry for your loss. Like, because I feel sorry that you lost somebody. Why, just out of curiosity. What's that about you?
For me, that's what everyone says. It's just like Valentine's Day. Everybody gets red roses in a card and some candy. Everyone says that I've experienced losing a parent. I've lost a mom and I've lost a dad and I've lost a brother and lost a best friend. So I'm just going to wait.
Words to you.
It might just be a heart. I might just text you a heart that I love you.
Yeah.
I might just say, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to remind you of the love. I want to remind you of the great memories.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to remind you that it was a loss.
Okay.
Because if you were in the right state of mind, especially if it was a parent who has lived a long time, who has lived a great life, that you did your part in taking care of them, not a loss. So for me, I just have to, that's one of those things of being a great listener of who my person is, that I am giving the condolences to, and how I'm going to give them the condolences.
Yeah.
And that's all. And I'm no judgment.
Right.
No judgment. I'm just saying, I'm not into the typical words that the kind of empty words that a lot of people give. So no judgment to anyone.
Okay.
Now, I have a question for you, Natalie. So Tiana says body language speaks the truth.
Yes.
Now, question for you. Do you feel like body language always speaks the truth?
I'm going to say probably not 100% of the time, but you can take your cues from it, but make sure like you're reading the situation correctly. So for example, if I pull the blanket on top of me, is that because I'm trying to guard against you and cover myself up and not be seen by you? Or is I'm cold? And so let's just make sure we're reading it accurately. But body language definitely tells a story. It will definitely tell a story. Like in couples counseling, we always look at when a couple comes in, how close do they sit together?
Okay.
So they sit on, because in my office I had a couch and a love seat. So if one person's on the couch at the one end, the other person's way over here on the love seat, that tells me how far apart they are. Yeah. And so the good news is, though, with therapy, though, they start to get closer and closer and closer and closer until they side by side. But it's very interesting to watch how far apart and how close the couple is. And so body language definitely will tell you a story. Just make sure you're interpreting the story correctly for that day.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it does tell the story most of the time. I don't think it's always accurate, based off what you know. And their confusion, they could be in a confused state and sending off, mixed messages as well. So, but I also think that's a good space to communicate well. If you are in an environment where, I guess like on a sofa in therapy, hey, I'm chilly. I'm really actually chilly. Can I take the cover and put it over me, and continue to communicate openly? Or am I grabbing it and throwing it on you and saying, Right. And then, so in a situation like that, Natalie, would you address that? Because I feel like here where I am right now, I'm watching and paying attention. And sometimes it's my duty and job to say, hey, you just such and such and such. I just wanted you to be aware. It's self-awareness for me that I just want to say, hey. And I'm typically, around people that I can't do that with, so I guess I use discernment. But I really like to make sure people are self-aware.
So I don't worry about making them self-aware. And it's usually the first or second session that they're feeling that. But I will start to do things differently so that they can relax and calm down.
Okay.
So let's say the person who, and I've had this happen before because of a sex therapist. So they come into the office, and even though they know they got to talk about stuff and they know they got to work on it, they will just to be scared. And so I remember like this one lady, I have pillows on my couches and blankets. Like it's very comfortable space. I work very hard to make my spaces comfortable.
Yeah.
And so she just started kind of accreting all of the pillows and the blankets like around her. And so it was very subtle, and I knew she didn't know what she was doing, but it was so funny. And so, I just, like take a deep breath. How you feeling? What's going on? What'd you expect?
Okay.
What's happening? And to key her in on it. And hopefully to get her to be more comfortable. So my next probably question would have been like, you don't look as comfortable as I'd like you to be. What do we need to do? Do we need to slow the conversation down? And so depending on some clients, you might need to talk about the sports and the weather first. Just that's where we need to start. We need to talk about that, or your kids or something, before we can talk about the harder stuff. And so just because a supervisor told me this one time, actually she was my mentor, but she was like, if people are coming to therapy, they know they got to jump off the cliff. There's no need to push them. It's like they know,
Okay, that's good.
If you ever think about yourself like jumping into a pool or doing something, like you're gonna jump, but let's just give me a minute.
Give me some time.
Get myself ready for it. And so that can happen in therapy sometimes. And I think in coaching too. Like I know I need something. I know it needs to change. I know what I'm doing isn't working. And I'm scared.
Yeah.
I
mean,
so
admitting that. Yeah, a safe space to admit that you're scared is everything.
Yeah.
And scared to what? Because sometimes you're just scared to face getting your feelings hurt, or like with a lot of people, face it, a person doesn't want you anymore. Or a person doesn't care for you the same that you care for them. Maybe you gave way more than they gave, and then they still decided to leave. You know what I mean? Things like that. So those are hard to face.
Those are
very hard, So another question. So if a client comes into your office and just kicks back and lays on the sofa and like, what does that say to you?
Probably they've been in therapy before.
Okay.
They're ready. They're ready. Like they're ready. They signed up for the ride. Like they're all in. Like I love that. I love that. I love it, especially when it's men. Because a lot of my, I would say 30 to 40%, no, 60 to 70% of my men this is the first time they're in therapy.
Okay.
If it wasn't about their sex life, they wouldn't be there. And so when they come in, they can be very guarded, very, like you really can't tell me nothing, but I'm desperate, so I'm willing to try this. And so when you have that one guy that's just like, hey, I've been doing therapy for years. I'm excited to finally work on this. What you got? Like, it's just like, hey, cool. And so, and I like men in therapy, especially those men, because you can give it straight, no chaser. Like it's so much fun. You don't have because a lot of times in therapy, I don't know if a lot of therapists do this, but I'm kind of sitting there thinking like, okay, what's the best way for me to say this? Like I need to shift them. I need a paradigm shift. Okay, how can I give it to them? Okay, all right, they said that. So, and with those men, it's straight, no chaser. So I love it. I'd be like, really do? Okay, you had no, so I love that wasn't gonna work, right? It's so much fun.
How do you think we get more men in therapy?
I don't know if we need to get more men in therapy. And so
Okay.
for a lot of men, conversation is not their dominant way of communicating and learning.
Okay.
And so remember, there's no one way up the mountain. However you need to get your healing, get your healing.
Okay.
So what I would like, though, is more men to start doing more things for more men to get their healing in whatever way that is. So whether that's playing basketball every weekend, climbing Mount Everest together, going down the river, whatever you need so that you can move forward.
Okay.
And so
Got it.
some men can do great with conversation, but some men not. Conversation is not the way they need to get it. They need to get it hands-on or another way or something. And so I want more ways for men to get their healing than just coming in and sitting down and talk for an hour.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I love that. That's enlightening.
Thank you.
Yay. Okay, so those are my 4 points in communication that I feel like are key. Of course, there are so many more, but I think that number one for me is being a great active listener. I think that's where it starts. I think that takes discipline, to be able to sit with someone and really, like you said, just find the compassion with them. And understand that, we're all the same and everyone needs a listening ear.
Yeah, definitely so. Definitely so. Well, thank you. That's a nice review for today.
Yes.
All right. Anything else you want to tell the people before we let them go?
No, that's it. I really am, big on communication. Becoming a better communicator throughout life. I think it's about maturity, and I'm working on that now. I have some communication that I have to do, and that's why that was important to me, and it became even more important as the week went through when I mentioned it last week. So if you make a point, trust and believe, all the evidence is going to show up in life to make you face it even more.
Yeah, definitely.
So I enjoy that about our conversations because it's like whatever we talk about is going to show up one way or the other.
And I think that's some days I love it, some days I hate it. One of the things, the beautiful thing about when you work with people, it's something about the energy of the universe that will bring you the lessons you need to learn.
Yep.
So either you'll have a conversation with somebody about one of the problems in your life, like they have the same problem. And you talking to them, you finally get the answers for yourself. And so that's exciting. Or just being able to see it like, oh, okay, this is the third client that I had deal with this. Okay, I must be dealing with this too. Okay, what's going on? All right, I can see it now because it's so much easier to see it in somebody else than you can see it in yourself.
Yeah.
It in yourself, then you can work out the answers.
Yeah.
And like test it out to make sure it works and then come back to them with the solution. So that's a really cool cycle. It can hurt depending on what the thing you have to learn is. It can hurt.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's a really, really cool feedback loop that the universe set up for us.
Yeah.
I really like it. So I wanted in the last 2 seconds, I want to I want everybody this week. This is your homework assignment.
Okay.
Is think about your sales communication. Think about your sales communication. If you have not in a while looked at your closing ratio, what do I mean? The amount of people who are calling you for your services versus the amount of people who are actually paying you for your services. So if you got 10 calls, but you're only converting 1, you got a 10% closing ratio. Okay. So I'm going to challenge you guys to listen more in those sales calls, to listen more, to make sure that you're answering their questions and giving them solutions to their problems, and see if you can't double your closing ratio, no matter what your crazy closing ratio it is, to double it. Okay.
That sounds good. What if that's the conversation for next week? You open to that?
Yeah.
Because I think that's a different, that is an extension. that sales conversation. And I think we can dive deeper into that and maybe even do an example.
Okay. Yeah, that'll work for me. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So exciting. Cool. Okay, good. I love teaching sales conversations to people. Yeah. All right. All right, people. You guys have a great and wonderful day.